Check, check. One, two, two. Check. One, two, 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 two.
Check, check. Ladies and gentlemen, and all the esteemed guests, I would request everyone to please be seated. A very good morning to you all. Welcome to the sixth edition of the LexTalk World Conference here in the vibrant city of Singapore. We would like to welcome the global legal fraternity experts who are there with us today. My name is Kriti Agarwal, and it's an honor to host this prestigious event gathering over 100 legal experts from around the globe. The LexTalk World Conference aims to foster knowledge sharing, stimulate thought provoking discussions, and create invaluable networking opportunities in the legal landscape. We are thrilled to have you join us here for this 2 day journey into the latest trends and developments in this field. I would like to acknowledge our sponsors for their contributions. Without their support, this event would not have been possible. I would like to start by thanking our presenting sponsor, MRS Business Professional Consulting. Please have a huge round of applause, everyone, for MRS Business Professional Consulting. Our powered by sponsor, Dispute Resolution Hub. I would also like to thank our prominent sponsor, BGK Law Associates. Let's have a huge round of applause, everyone. And last but not the least, our association partners, SIAC, Singapore International Arbitration Center, and ICDR, International Center for Dispute Resolution. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for all the partners and associations. LexTalk is a platform intended to congregate international legal fraternity under one single roof to discuss the ideas, concepts, experiences, and knowledge on the legal space worldwide. These 2 days, ladies and gentlemen, we will entirely focus on recognizing the best, networking with the best, and talking about the challenges, opportunities, scopes, and significant developments which have taken place and are about to change the legal world. So now let's take the conference forward with our first session, which is a panel discussion on the topic ESG integration in governance and compliance, examining the integration of environmental, social, and governance principles in governance and compliance. Case studies and organizations successfully incorporating ESG into their practices. To throw some light on this, I would like to call upon stage our first panelist, Mr. Nick Azli Abu Zahar, Group General Counsel of Telecom Malaysia Berhad. Let's please put our hands together for our first panelist, Mr. Nick. Our second panelist is Tan Xiu Han, Head of Sustainability, Real Estate at Capel Limited. Let's have a huge round of applause, everyone. Our third panelist is Dr. Balakrishna Gopalakrishnan, who is the founder of BGK Law Associates, Advocates and Legal Advisors, who's also our prominent sponsor. Let's have a huge round of applause for all our participants. Unfortunately, Mr. Fariz Zahir Head, Group Corporate Affairs Division at Prolantis Group couldn't join us. So the stage is now open for all our panelists.
Good morning to all of you. I think, we waited for a long time so that, we thought the hall will be filled up by the participants who have registered and, who are yet to come. But some of my co-panelists, they want to have and leave the place by about 10:30. And, therefore, we are skipping, it was to start with the keynote address by one of the sponsors. And, I think, instead of that, we are starting it. And being the first of the thing, the topic here is a little bit of new topic, and it is a little topic which is just now getting into the corporates of especially countries other than USA and UK. And, for example, I'm coming from India, and this ESG has become now one of the parts of our company law, and, it is necessary for us. And, as a former banker, what happens is, when we take now today an investment decision as to whether we have to invest or, not as a banker, whether I have to lend to a company. Earlier, it was like that, all I need was to get back my money and, with interest, and, I'm not bothered about how they make the profit. And, all, if they have pots of money, I'm very happy because it will not be declared as a non-performing asset. So to cover that today, it's necessary that in the loan documents which I execute, I have to have a clause to say that, I'm in compliance with the ESG, that is environmental, social, and governance. So of which, the first thing is these are three different parts. And, one is the environmental sustainability and how the resources are used. Is that resources which is used, which is bad to the environment, and, how it is there, and how the social responsibility, how the social responsibility includes, a lot of issues with regard to the labor force, and it also with regard to the sustainability of the business. And these are all things which we have now come. And corporate responsibility is that, governance has to be transparent, and it has to be declared very clearly in that. And with that, this is the topic, and this topic may sound a little different for a normal, because this is not a practicing topic, because this is more concerned with the corporate governance of a company and social responsibility of a company. And so with that, before I go and ask the questions to my fellow panelists, because only we are two of us, and and the third panelist couldn't come, and he had some kind of a fever yesterday night. He was about to catch a flight, and he messaged that he has a fever, and we thought, it's better that he takes rest. So what is ESG? And then companies has to have a integration of ESG in the framework. What is integration of carbon disclosure project, then climate disclosure standards, and international integrated reporting council? So one is that, as far as the methods of integrating ESG into business is concerned, um, the meaning is that, is the explicit and systematic inclusion of ESG factors in the investment analysis and investment decisions. It is a holistic approach to the investment analysis where material factors and ESG factors, that traditional financial factors, are identified and assessed from time to time as an investment decision. So this is slightly different from the normal investment decision. If you look at an investment decision, what now normally takes into is you look at the balance sheet, and how the company's cash flows are there, and how strong the company is, how it is capitalized, and what is the market cap. These are normal things which are looked into when you take an investment decision. But slight changes have come, and they say ESG integration is necessary, and the explicit and systematic inclusion of ESG factors in investment decisions. So when I'm going to invest in a country, or when I'm going to invest in a company, I need to look into the ESG factors. ESG factors, it's a holistic approach. And ESG, and we have to integrate the ESG typically, and there is a compliance and research, security, portfolio analysis, and investment decisions. So one has to identify the ESG strengths and weaknesses, that is most essential, and analyze the current state of ESG factors and set priorities and plan ahead and implement controls and achieve your target and define clear metrics and report your ESG progress. So one has to understand that. There was a case study, which is a case study which is there in India is concerned. There was a man called, it is a company which used to have recycling of PET bottles. Normally, a PET bottle takes 100 years to decompose if you put it in the ground, that nobody knows that, we throw it off, but it takes, he used to recycle it. It's called Ganesh company. What company is called Ganesh Polythene Company. And what happens is, he used to convert it, and, after that, it became sustainable. And he used to convert it into yawn, and that became a big hit, and people started investing in the company, and the biggest investor was SBI Mutual Fund, who invested, and they found that they had a big rate of return. But in between, there was some problem with that, because of the fuel prices, as oil prices have gone up, which was the fuel which is used. And therefore, but still, sustainability of such investment is there. Today, I mean, a lot of things have a problem because of that only. So the other thing is that, you have to have a carbon disclosure project, and companies may report their environmental performance. Environmental performance is most essential, including their greenhouse gas emissions, water consumption, and climate risks and opportunities. Water consumption is concerned, it is a very big issue. We do not know. I mean, for example, South Africa is declared to be a waterless, water problem is there. So if you have any project which is having water as the main component in South Africa, I will not invest. The reason is that, it has a problem with water problem is there. So water's consumption and sustainability of that, if I'm using it also, the sustainability of that, then climate disclosure. And today, everything you say is that, climatic change and global warming is concerned. Everything we say that, if winter comes in July, and somewhere in India, we say that it is because of the global warming and, climate has changed. And, even the household people also says, if you have a kind of, fever or, anything, just say something in that, now climate has changed, everything has changed. It was not the way it has to be there. So it's our duty as an investment, when we take an investment decision, to ensure that, our decisions are based for the betterment of the human planet, or, the Mother Earth. And it is not that, simply you invest and make money and, forget about it. And this has three parts. One is that, integration, environmental, and then, the social responsibilities. And second thing is the disclosure, the governance, corporate governance is also there. So one is that we have to identify the strengths and weaknesses, analyze the current ESG factors, and set priorities ahead, implement ESG controls, and define the metrics. So we have a challenge also. Challenge is that data is not available, and what data which we get is not very clear. Then governance, for organization to have that kind of a data, it's often unstructured, and lack of data governance leads to stockpiles and data, and that is likely. So if the data is not correct, what you feed in is not correct, the result will be different. And then time and cost, most of the companies will not spend much time on that. If they say it is only a compliance, I'll do the way it is needed, and that's the end of it. But thing has to be changed. Then complexity is also there, and complexity is most essential, because it is it requires creating a clear strategy for the boardroom that employees all over the world can put into practice. And once you put a policy in the boardroom, that is not the end of it. You have to ensure that it is implemented at all levels. And I think, with this introduction, I think, I will just pass on to the questions to my fellow panelists. And I think both of you can introduce yourself, even though you have introduced when the general introduction was there, and, the work which you do. And please do. Go ahead, Mr.
Hello. Yeah, my name is Nick Azli. I'm the Group General Counsel of Telecom Malaysia. So we work closely with our ESG team on this topic because there's a lot of integration between the legal and compliance aspects and the governance aspects with the ESG initiatives and the sustainability initiatives that are happening within Telecom Malaysia. Thank you.
Yeah, so with you are from the telecom industry, and I just want to know, what is your concept of ESG vis-a-vis telecom industry, and how you plan to practice and put that into practice in an industry like telecom, because I'm from a bank, and now I'm practicing, but you are from telecom industry. So just explain whatever is the challenges you feel, and how do you feel it is to be implemented?
Yes, thanks, Dr. Pala. That's a broad question, and I have some slides actually to help
please
me present for the audience to understand.
Yeah,
Can I have the slides, please?
Slides.
So I'd just like to say, in Telecom Malaysia, we take sustainability very important. It is part of our vision and mission, and we will not make investments and we will not make investment decisions without taking sustainability into account. Okay, next slide, please. So at Telecom Malaysia, the sustainability practices are guided by standards and regulations. So the standards you see on the board are standards that you usually find in sustainability practices. The ones on the left is what Telecom Malaysia is aligned to. And looking at the ones upcoming on the right, because we have so many standards, right? So the move is to standardize or get these standards commonalized as much as possible. That's why there is a move to the ISSB, which is governed by the International Financial Reporting Standards. Yeah. So with that, a lot of companies hopefully will be more aligned in the future with all the standards. And apart from the standards, we are also governed by regulations. Telecom Malaysia is a public listed company, so we're governed by the Malaysian Bourse, the Stock Exchange regulator, and also the Malaysian Code on Corporate Governance. Next slide, please. Now, Telecom Malaysia aspires itself to be a digital powerhouse by 2030. And we are governed or pushed to become this digital powerhouse following three main principles, which is pioneer, win, and revitalize. And if you look at the top in terms of being a pioneer, we're pioneering industry growth through digitization and sustainability. So it's not just digitization that's powering us to become a digital powerhouse, but also sustainability as an important pillar in our vision. Next, please.
Next.
So as you see TM's vision, we have two sustainability objectives, which is enable sustainable growth for customers and our community, and also ensure business resilience. Now, underneath, we have 5 sustainability pillars. Yeah. Now, the first one is solution provider. So in addition to providing telecommunications, we also provide digital solutions to our customers. And this principle is sustainability as a solution. The second sustainable pillar is digital inclusion, leaving no one behind. Yeah, we have a national agenda to ensure that Malaysia enjoys the digital evolution. The next one is environmental management, eco-friendly practices. The next one is responsible employer. And the last one is ethical business. Just to give examples of these 3 sustainable pillars, can you just press the next slide? Yeah, just go on. Yeah, these are some of the examples, the live examples that you see. For example, in terms of being a responsible employer, so we have more than 40% of our workforce are women. Okay, and as a live example, I have 2 of my colleagues here from Telecom Malaysia sitting there, one of whom is the face you see on that particular slide. Okay, so she is real. Okay, she's not AI generated. Okay, next, please. So just now I was showing that's the framework, yeah, Dr. Bala, the framework of Telecom Malaysia, and this is how our integration plan is. So if you look on the left side, those are the 5 sustainability pillars. Okay. And those sustainable pillars are governed by what we call material matters. So these material matters, for example, for solution provider, it's innovation technology, customer experience, network quality, and stability. These are material factors that are material to us in pushing the 5 sustainable pillars. Now, if you look on the right side, that's how we measure where we are in terms of each of these material matters for the 5 sustainable pillars. So if you look at the light green, where we currently are, there are only about 3 or 4 of those material matters which we are at advanced integration. And that's because traditionally, as a telco and a tech company, we have already started those material matters. For example, customer experience and network quality and stability is something that we've done. So we are at an advanced integration stage. Under number 4, responsible employer, learning and development is also something that we are already advanced. And the other one, in terms of ethical business, also light green in 2024, is good governance, because we've started that journey some time ago. But in terms of the others, we rank ourselves and we consider ourselves, some of them at early stage, the pink, building the foundation stage. So we have some journey to still go in those areas. And we do have some areas where we are early integration, the yellow quadrant, and the brown quadrant is the middle between the early integration and advanced. So that's where we see ourselves in terms of progress and the efforts that we need to make. And these standards are governed by the Bursa Malaysia, which is the stock exchange regulator, who is in turn governed by international standards. Next slide, please. And in terms of governance, our sustainability initiatives, this is where it sits in our company governance structure. So if you look at it, it's right up after the management committee, and it's chaired by our group chief financial officer. So the person who looks at the finances and the numbers of the company chairs the sustainability committee. And like Dr. Bala said, investments is important. Now, this ESG or sustainability initiatives will not make any leeway if it doesn't involve money. Yeah. So businesses are driven by profitability, and investment to the businesses are important. So if ESG initiatives are not pegged to investment, then it doesn't drive the business, especially SMEs. Yeah, so that's where in the investing community has put a strong emphasis on sustainability. So companies who are listed on the stock exchange, where the public is investing, have been given responsibilities now to disclose their sustainability efforts. If not, investors will not be interested to invest in these shares, in these companies. So yeah, so that's from a Telecom Malaysia perspective, Dr. Bala, that's where we stand in terms of
that
our...
pretty covers everything. And, 2 points which I have noticed is that, you said that, you are first governed by the stock exchange, which is there in everybody. But normally stock exchange is limited to the issues which you have to look when it is a listed company and how good it is there. And stock exchange in turn is governed by the international standards. And the major point which you have made is that while all our business, let me tell you, everybody wants, when you invest in a business, you want to get returns. It is not that, you're not going to do something for the sake of everything, but that investment has to be governed. And, more and more people are now looking into the sustainability of these investments with regard to ESG. And, that is coming across the globe. I'm telling you, in India, a lot of FDIs comes and, they insist on this. And third thing is that we also have a disclosure, which is compulsory to be made in the annual report about our year. But only thing is that, we have one thing, I think, it is there in the corresponding act also. There are CSR activities, that corporate social responsibility under the company law. And how different it is from CSR is from ESG, because it is, to me, they are in the blended together, because most of the CSR activities are where I cannot have the resultants of a governance or, environmental things, I can have a CSR activity which can cover and which can be a better thing for my comparing or, when my fitting into the governance and environmental social issues. And the third thing I just is that investors from across the world have different ideas about different issues. So, though United Nations have certain ESG rules and regulations, I'm not disputing that. But if that is accepted and by everybody, then investment can flow into this thing as a listed company or everything. But that is the base of the ESG foundation on which every company has to work. And you also said that, that you look at the employees and, what are the safety norms and, other things, because telecom is concerned, everybody has a rightly or wrongly a thing that telecom towers are not so good and, it radiates and, it's one of the reasons for getting into some kind of a terminal cancer or, it says, and, there was a big battle in India because of that, some PIL was filed, public interest litigation was filed in that. And how do you address that? Because how do you address that as far as the telecom industry is concerned? Is there something similar that in Malaysia when the hue and cry that your towers or, are, because to give better service, you have to have more and more clarity of towers. I don't know whether there's a monopoly of one player there or not.
Yeah. So thank you, Dr. Bala. So actually for Telecom Malaysia, in terms of towers, we are not a tower player. Yeah. So our main telecommunications business is fixed lines. So we're the biggest fixed line service provider in Malaysia. Doesn't mean that we don't have towers, we do, but compared to the rest of the mobile network operators, we're a small player in that field. But having said that, yeah, just in the last management committee meeting, our group CEO was pushing the fact that to look at whatever towers we have, and if they are not functioning already, we are to dismantle them and make sure that we we dismantle them in an environmental friendly way. And yes, and I agree with you, Dr. Bala, in terms of the towers. We, the telcos, we are guilty to some extent of not maintaining them as well as we would love to. When a lot of the mobile network operators moved to fixed line digital solutions as well, not all of them bring down the towers. There are still a lot of those towers that are still standing there and actually do not have much function. Yeah. So yes, we do. And there is an initiative among the mobile network operators to address this issue. But I agree, Dr. Bala, it is an area which we as telecommunication providers must concentrate more on.
Thank you. I think now I'll move to Han, and I think you can introduce yourself, and from your perspective of your industry, you can address these issues. Because what I want is the perspective from different industries, because it is all the same, because how your industry or where you are working, how that is addressing these issues.
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much. I've learned quite a bit. I don't have slides for this morning. I won't put you through another lecture. A good lecture, I must say. Yeah, but I realize I'm also speaking to a group of legal experts who are very, very good with their words. So I'll try to paint a picture with words instead. Has anyone here heard of Keppel? Anyone? I think the Singaporeans or the locals or the Malaysian friends would have heard of it. You probably would have heard of it as a shipyard, an offshore and marine supplier of different services. We've moved away from the offshore and marine services. Actually, we've divested that part of the business. We've moved into something a bit more sustainable. We're now a fund management and investment company that looks at three main pillars: real estate, infrastructure for green energy as well, and connectivity. So I head up sustainability for the real estate side of things. I must say for the ESG side of things, real estate is still predominantly governed by the E side of things, and that's environmental. How much carbon does your building expend? How much embodied carbon do you require to, for example, build a new building as opposed to retrofitting an existing one? And finally, operationally, how much carbon can you actually save, right? So that's mostly on the environmental side of things. On the governance side of things, in terms of investments, which you've mentioned and you've mentioned as well, it is critical that investments are now sustainable. A lot of the investors or even the fund houses that we talk to are governed, in this case, by things like the SFDR, the Sustainable Financing Disclosure Regulations, as well as the various taxonomies, primarily the EU taxonomy, as well as more recently, the nascent MAS Singapore taxonomy and the upcoming ASEAN taxonomy as well. So all these will govern in some ways how we perform sustainably. What do they then govern? They basically govern what kind of investments you can make, what kind of returns these investments need to then come back with, right, from a sustainability point of view. So maybe a 30% energy use intensity savings, for instance, as well as where you draw your power from, right? So all these are sort of baked into, in this case, the investment underwriting. What is also crucial is that apart from the underwriting, as you build up your building, whether it's in Malaysia, Singapore, India, or what have you, they then subscribe, in this case, to the green building ratings, right? So for example, in Singapore, we've got Green Mark, IGBC, or the Indian Green Building Council have their own standards. Likewise, Malaysia, the MGBC. And these standards, as far as possible, will try to meld with what is then required under, for example, the other taxonomies that have been mentioned. And all this will then tie back together with, for example, mechanisms and instruments for sustainable financing, for green loans, and so on. So that's very broadly the framework. I hope I painted a picture of what it might look like. Now, let's move on to the S and then the G. On the S side of things, buildings are meant to bring people together, not to segregate people, right? So the S part of things is crucial because in the buildings that we run, manage, own, and eventually, if the price is right, of course, divest, these buildings tend to integrate social activity well together. For example, I think this week or next week, there's a durian party that's happening in our building. That brings the whole community together. It also segregates the durian eaters from the non-durian eaters, but that's a different issue. Has anyone here tried durian, by the way? Is durian season? Okay. Yeah, I think most of our friends from India, from Malaysia, of course, Southeast Asia will love it, right? I personally love it. But these are some of the activities that really draws people together. So people who work in the same building as you, but in a different office, you've never met them other than awkward exchanges in the lifts. But these are times when you can actually draw people together as well. And that builds up what we call social capital. It's not just durians, of course. There's Hari Raya parties for Eid. There's Christmas carols at the right times of the year. There's Oktoberfest just coming up, right? So all these different activities will basically pool, again, different people together. And we find that, hey, these are the guys who will continue leasing even at the end of their rental period, of their leasing period, and what we call stickiness. So as they stay on a bit longer, as they stay on, of course, it also means revenue to us. It also means returns for the investors. So I'm going to stop here. I've been talking quite a bit.
That's right. Because when you say that, you bring all the community together and the people working together and take them for their thing. And coming from India, we have a land full of festivals. In a year there are 1,000 festivals, and that brings us an opportunity to bring together all in the offices, and we celebrate it in a big way. And beyond that, I just want to ask you is that what's your disclosure norms as far as the ESG is concerned? Specifically in your industry, because as far as others are concerned, it is put there. How do you follow that disclosure norms?
Yeah, so before that, I want to address the festivals. We do not have Holi in our building. If we had Holi, there'll be massive cleanups to be done after that, and then we'll lose money. But I'm kidding, right? There's Holi festivals in Little India as well. In any case, disclosures, excuse me. So for disclosures, of course, we need to, first of all, ensure that the asset performs as it's meant to. The primary mode is actually through our sustainable reporting. So every year, just like many organizations, just like TM, I'm sure as well, We do produce a sustainable report. That sustainability report is part and parcel also of the larger groups, larger companies' annual report. And that's when the emissions figures for various assets and so on will then get disclosed. When it comes to the investment, there's other modes of disclosure as well. Basically, we go, okay, we have abided by these clauses in, for example, once again, the SFDR by performing such and such and such an activity. So it's a very execution-based and results-oriented mode of disclosure in that sense, because that's really what investors want to see. What are the active measures you put in, as opposed to just doing an end of the day reporting.
I think, the most important other things is that, we are all from the legal field, is that, how you address a legal and reputational risk involved in this ESG. Means it's not that, we say that everything is there, I follow this, I follow that, I follow this, and there may be some kind of a questions raised on us also to say that, whether you're following, and, somebody goes, as I said, that a lot of industries are set up in India, and therefore emissions are concerned, and they go to the court, and they follow. So that kind of a reputational legal loss is something, because a lot of groups are there who are watching the environmental disasters, and how the ESG is actually, I would say in India, the ESG, the big protectors of ESG are the public at large, who are completely watching what an industry is doing. And they get the finest of the details, I don't know, not from the computer, but they have a lot of details, and which they put it to the court and say that, doing this, very recently in one part of Kerala, what happens is, there was some kind of an emissions, and, suddenly from a factory, and suddenly you find that a lot of fish, the entire area, that a lot of fish were dead, and then the fishermen felt very bad, and that went to the court, and the court has appointed a committee to look into it and see what is the reason for it. So such kinds of legal and reputational laws will always come. Those who are from the industry may know that also. So how do you address that, if at all it is there? Perhaps you may not have faced it, but assuming that if something comes up, both of you can answer in their respective.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Bala. So in essence, ESG requires us to be a responsible business, yeah, from both the E, S, and G perspective. Now, Dr. Bala, you asked what are the legal and reputational issues that may arise. So I give, for example, on the governance part, where I believe the anti-bribery initiative is high in the agenda for all companies. And if there is a liability attached to the company or its employees for bribery, that is a serious reputational impact to the company. So from the governance side, there is always a requirement for the company to ensure that it has proper processes and procedures in place to minimize the risk of the company getting involved in bribery-related liabilities. That's on the governance side. From the telecommunication side, for the environmental potential liability or reputational risk is in terms of, for example, Telecom Malaysia, its network. Its telecommunications network gobbles up a lot of energy, yeah, to maintain the whole nation's telecommunications network takes up a lot of energy. So one of our initiatives when we upgrade our fiber optic cables, our telecommunications network facilities is to ensure we reduce the amount of energy used. And recently, we are also into the data center business. We announced a recent joint venture with a known Singapore telco for a data center in Johor, which is about 200 megawatts, which is a large data center. And that also is envisaged to take up a lot of energy and water. Yeah, so there have been stakeholders who have inquired as to what will TM do in terms of ensuring that its energy and water consumption is maintained at a reasonable rate. If not, the people in Johor will complain that we're using up all their energy and water. Okay, so those are two examples of some of the exposures that we face in the telco industry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say to your point as well, there is no development without any mode of environmental risk or even social risk when, for example, it comes to displacement. But so long as the greater good is achieved and can actually be measured, I think there's ways of, I would say, counter arguments, right? But we're also extremely careful about how much impact we put to the environment. So our business has, in real estate, has moved away from brand new developments, which might disrupt natural habitats and so on, into adaptive reuse, which is making existing buildings better and giving them a new lease of life. So they could be 20, 30, 40-year-old buildings. In the context of Singapore, in the context of Asia, the buildings, or rather real estate cycles are a bit longer, so maybe about 50 years or so. Upgrade those buildings through new engineering systems, new cooling systems, new technologies, and making them far, far more efficient, including sometimes upgrading the architecture of things as well. So all these taken in holism, right? All this taken holistically means that we have a very measured approach towards how we renovate, how we retrofit, and also how we upgrade these assets. However, the risk will come when you make certain commitments, especially to your investors, that at the end of doing all this, you're going to save 30% of your energy consumption. The fact is that may or may not be true because in operations, many things could happen, right? Weather patterns could change, usage patterns could be different. You have no control over who turns on and who turns off the switch for your lights and your power and so on. And as it turns out, the consumption sometimes becomes less than 30%. We'll try to moderate, of course, for these behaviors. But sometimes in terms of disclosures versus the commitments, there is some risk. And what happens when that becomes too large? You get accused of greenwashing, that you're actually committing for something that you're not actually doing, right? So we try to minimize that, of course, by being a bit more moderate about some of these commitments, and just by being very realistic about things like degradation of engineering systems over time, efficiency losses across, for example, power cables or even telco cables, for instance. So all these things then get factored in, and we can therefore preempt them because we can't really control the future.
So how often do you internally audit whether you are in compliance with the ESG? Is there an annual one, or you keep on changing? Because anything which we put on a place and then we say that we have a policy in place, that doesn't mean that we are compliant with it. Because you have to closely monitor that and ensure that everything is in line with the global standards, and where we fail, and what's the improvement which we have to do, and how do you assess that? Because your investors are constantly looking at you, and they cannot come one fine morning and say that you look here, you have not followed this, and you have not done this, so I'm through pulling back my investment. That should not happen. So how often you do the audit, or what kind of a systems in place? I would not say audit. What kind of a systems are in place to ensure that often you are somewhere near the compliance, or you are completely compliant, or it's good, bad, or ugly? How do you look at it?
Yeah, so as you saw just now in the slides, we measure ourselves in those different quadrants, those material matters. So in terms of audit, we do an internal audit every year, but once in 3 years, we get an external auditor to come to audit and see whether our sustainable development initiatives and the categories and the stages that we say we are in is actually accurate or not. So it's internal every year and external once in 3 years.
Yeah, so we also conduct an annual audits. We have external agencies that come in and do that for us, including, of course, many of the audit companies that you'd be quite familiar with. All these will also form part of our annual reporting, as well as sustainability reporting, because it is part of our governance structure. Yeah, that's on the corporate side of things. On the sustainability side of things, there are also things like indoor air quality audits that we carry out periodically, could be half a year, right, to ensure that the building systems will always function the way that they're designed to.
I think, I've been told that, time is up and, I just wanted some question answers, but off the line, off this, we can ask that question. So thank you very much. And before I end, I just want to say is that, ESG is something which each and everyone, and especially those legal officers, and, has to ensure that the company is in compliance with ESG. You can't just ignore and say that, it's something which is not necessary, because it's, even if it risks your profits, because sometimes, a lot of compliances and certain things has to change. They undergo the process, and, there may be a kind of, uh, uh, you may haven't been in conflict with the business department also, but ESG is here to stay. And as you go along, unless you do that, the planet is not going to be sustainable, and your investment may run into trouble. So with that, I'm thanking all the panelists, and, thank you very much. And in fact, I know that this is a new subject, so I want more and more questions to be asked on that. We will have that question session after this. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank both of you for the excellent.
Thank you, everyone, for this eye-opening session. With this, let us quickly start with our first keynote session. I would like to invite on stage Ms. Monica Romalina Sajabat, founder and managing partner at MRS Business Professional Consulting, which is our presenting sponsor for the event. Ms. Monica has more than 15 years of successful experience at the Supreme Court of Republic of Indonesia, as well as the Tax Court Republic of Indonesia, as legal counsel for various multinational companies, especially from developed countries such as the USA, Europe, and Asia. Monica is also a lecturer in economics and tax at the University of Indonesia Faculty of Economics and Business. So everyone, let's put our hands together for Ms. Monica Romalina Sajabat. Just allow one moment, ma'am.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Singapore. I can see that happy people here, and nice to meet you again from the familiar people, Dr. Bala, Mr. John, and else. I think that the people that still tight with the schedule in this morning, so that we can wait for the next people that come here to join with us for this spectacular event to connected a network for the legal professional network and business, also to the government and Also, that I can see that there is a student here. No, no students here. Okay, so is it okay? Let's start. You can start now. All right. Good morning from Singapore to all distinguished guests in person and virtual, to government and to college and all legal professionals. My name is Monica Romalina Sijabat, and I'm the founder and the managing partner for MRS Business Professional Consulting and as an awardee LexTalk Global Award 2024 that got the trophy direct from the General of Attorney for India, Mr. R. Venkataramani, in New Delhi, March 7, 2024. It is with great honor and privilege that I stand here to deliver this keynote speech at our esteemed prestigious event, Lex Falcon Global Award 2024 and LexTalk World 2024 in Singapore that will celebrate tomorrow. As legal professionals, we hold a unique and crucial role in society. Our work is not just about interpreting law and regulation, but also about upholding justice, advocating for truth, and defending the rights of individuals. In a world where the rule of law is constantly tested, our commitment to integrity, ethics, and excellence is more important than ever. Today, as we gather to share knowledge, insights, and experience, let us not forget the impact of our actions on lives on those who we serve. Each case we handle, each decision we make, has the power to shape the course of justice and bring about positive change in our commitment for our communities. As we navigate through the complexities of the legal landscape, let us remain steadfast in our dedication to principle of fairness, equity, and the rule of law. Let us strive to be beacons of integrity and forces for good in a world that often feels uncertain and tumultuous. I urge each and every one of us to continue our pursuit of knowledge, our commitment to justice, and our passion for making a difference for the better world. Let us support and uplift one another as we navigate the challenge and triumphs of our noble profession. Together, we can continue to uphold the pillars of justice, defend the right of the vulnerable, and ensure that the rule of law prevails. Thank you for your dedication, your hard work, your time, your unwavering commitment to cause of justice. Here we are to successful together and enriching event. And thank you. And now let me start to share the presentation about recent developments yet about transfer pricing regulation. Okay, for the next page, please. Maybe that all of us that familiar, or maybe that this is the very first time that you heard about the transfer pricing. That the transfer pricing that we have a trick, the background of the transfer pricing is about that refers for the pricing of goods and services and intangible between related. I think this one is good. Yeah. Yeah. Transfer pricing refers to the pricing of goods, services, and intangibles between related parties within a multinational enterprises. That if you have a client, or maybe that you are background as the multinational company, that you will familiar with this if you have transaction with the other countries. So the transfer pricing that supposed to be ensuring that these transactions are conducted at arm's length principle as essential to prevent tax best errors profit shifting. That's the familiar one, best errors profit shifting. Historically, the OECD transfer pricing guidelines have been the cornerstone of global transfer pricing practice. However, the introduction of BAPS or best errors profit shifting initiative has brought significant change. And then let's talk to the content. No, for content, please. That what we will discuss. Yes, this is the We will discuss for this morning recent change in transfer pricing laws globally, implication in multinational corporation, future trends and predictions of transfer pricing, and issues in transfer pricing and tax evasion. Tax evasion is most important thing that for the all the corporate such as that multinational company that have transacted in overall the world, especially that have a shell purchase, and also there is a dividend also, and there is also that for the interest loan and else the royalty also. Next. And the recent change in transfer pricing laws globally, that OECD BIPS action plan, OECD BIPS action plan aims to close gaps in international tax rules that allows, yeah, this is the action, for the profits to be shifted to low or no tax locations. Among the 15 actions, Action 8 and until 10 focus on aligning transfer pricing outcomes with value creation. That Action 13 to introduce new standards for transfer pricing documentation, including the requirements for country by country report, or we call it with CBCR, country by country report. And the country-specific change, several countries have made substantial updates to their transfer pricing regulation that we consist of the United States and European Union and Asia. So it's almost that the transfer pricing related also with the tax treaty. So when you have the transfer pricing case, that you can use also the tax treaty if you're familiar with it. So United States, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act introduced significant change, including with global intangible low tax income provision and the base errors and anti-abuse tax. And European Union, the implementation of the anti-tax avoidance directive and has brought the new rules to combat tax avoidance, including strict transfer pricing agreement requirement. Asia countries like China, India, and our country Indonesia has also updated the regulation to align with global standards, increasing scrutiny and enforcement activity. Next. And for the digital economic and transfer pricing, this is a very important thing right now. What's the related digital economic and transfer pricing? The rise of digital economic presents new challenge for transfer pricing. OECD Pillar 1 and Pillar 2 proposal aim to address this challenge by reallocating taxing rights and ensuring a minimum level of tax for digital business. This proposal will significantly impact transfer pricing policies for companies operating in digital space. Next. Okay, this is, I think, Karthik, can you make it bigger, please? Yeah, I think that, yeah. Let's go to the United States, United Kingdom, Germany, Indonesia, India, Singapore, and Japan. There is a, yeah, yeah, okay. Okay, it's okay. Come back to the first page. We have the 4 different discretion. That one, the first one is for the regulation. For the United States, yeah. Go back, Karthik. Yes, the people that can see, yes. Because this is a familiar. Maybe that as a legal, this is sounds scary for you because the dispute and the penalty is too big for every corporation. This is they feel scary about the transfer pricing case. That's by the tax penalty, and also there is a tax crime act here in transfer pricing. So the regulation in United States, United Kingdom, Germany, Indonesia, India, Singapore, and Japan, and else, there is a difference that United States that focus to the regulation that government that buys a sanction for 82 of the internal revenue costs. And we know that in America, that internal revenue services, so that there is a treasury regulation also and follow arm's length principle. That's by the OECD also. That's for the United States, and the United Kingdom is also the same, follow OECD and for guidelines and arm's length principle. Germany also, Indonesia also. Indonesia, they have update regulation for there is a update with the business situation right now. So that the PMK is updated by the 2023 by the Finance Minister regulation. We can see that the update the best value model and method for the transfer pricing analytic. So India also that follow the OECD principles, Singapore and Japan. For documentation that we know about that in the United States, Kingdom, UK, Germany, Indonesia, India, and Singapore, Japan, that we have a country by country report, master file, and local file. That's the same. It's all the same in the country, in every country. And for the penalties, that United States, there's significant penalty for non-compliance. There's a concern about the compliance for the United States. And for United Kingdom, there's penalty for non-compliance can be severe. And then the penalty for Germany, that good compliance, non-compliant, adjustment to uh, taxable income. And also that for Indonesia, there's a sum for the penalty for non-compliance, that potential adjustment for the potential adjustment is for the fiscal correction. So the Indonesia, the penalty also there's can be multiple sanctions. It depends on the subject to tax for the foreign and for the local taxpayer. So it's gonna be a bigger tax rate for 20% for the foreign taxpayer, and then for the local taxpayer is related with the Indonesian tax regulation, the local rate. So the India also that the penalties that yeah, the strict penalty for non-compliance, the same too, the inducting adjustment to taxable income, and also for the Singapore, the same, and Japan too. A recent development that income for United States increase focus on intangible property transfers and intercompany services. And for the United Kingdom, implementation of OECD BAPS recommendation, including CBCR and strict compliance requirement. United Kingdom have a different, a little different with the others because that they want to have the headquarter that CBCR is more important for the United Kingdom. So the Germany focus on transfer pricing audits. That's the same thing also with Indonesia, Germany. They focus for the transfer pricing audits, and that the compliance with BIPS recommendation. Indonesia strengthening transfer pricing rules, and also that increase enforcement and audits. The same thing with the same situation with Germany and India also. That increasing scrutiny and audits focus to digital economic and intangibles, and Singapore embassies and substance tech form the inverse supplies. What's that? Kartik, I just make sure, yeah, for the Singapore, also the resolution for the mechanism, and also that for Japan, okay, Japan enhanced, okay, transfer pricing audits focus on intangible and risk also. So, what's, okay, next please, next please. Okay, next, this one is compliance challenge. Why this compliance is very important for the transfer pricing? Because the transfer pricing focus that that's the taxpayer that need to do something that likes tax evasion to base errors profit shifting for the at the lower rate, and also that the for tax haven country. That's for tax evasion. So the compliance challenge that the evolving regulatory landscape has increased the complexity and compliance burden for multinational enterprise. Come in, please. And companies now face structured documentation requirement and the risk of double taxation. Ensuring compliance requires robust internal process and a deep understanding of the local regulation in its jurisdiction. Strategic consideration, how to manage transfer pricing risk effectively. MNC should conduct regular transfer pricing audit to ensure compliance. Consider APA. We know that APA, Advanced Pricing Agreements, that most of the digital company that use this one for APA for the successful story for the transfer pricing issues. So to gain the certainty over transfer pricing methods, leverage the technology and data analytics to enhance transfer pricing documentation and compliance efforts. And about the case studies, for the case studies, let's look at a couple of real world examples. This is a leading technology firms. successfully navigate recent changes by implementing a centralized transfer pricing strategy and obtaining APA, advanced pricing agreements, in key jurisdictions, which provided certainty and reduced audit risk. So a global manufacturing company case study reflects data analytics to streamline the transfer pricing documentation, resulting in improved compliance and reduced administrative burden. Next, please. And how about the future trends and prediction in transfer pricing? Yeah, because that we live in the global world right now, so we do business in the global, a big world right now. So we need to know how about the future trends in prediction and transfer pricing. So emerging trends is we are seeing an increasing use of artificial AI, yeah, artificial intelligence and data analytics in transfer pricing audits. These technologies help tax authorities identify discrepancies and enforce regulation more effectively. Additionally, ESG, that Mr. Bala that just talked about this Spanish discussion, that factors are becoming more relevant, influencing transfer pricing policies and practices. Prediction for the future. Looking ahead, we can expect for the global standardization of for transfer pricing regulation, international cooperation play a crucial role in addressing challenges posed by digital economy and ensuring a fair and consistent application of transfer pricing rules. So yeah, this is the most important thing that we know about the digital economy right now and global standardization of transfer pricing, and every country right now that concerned about this one, the transfer pricing. So all of our colleagues as the legal professional, if you have a case about the transfer pricing issue, please come to the tax attorney, because this is so specific. The transfer pricing that consists of the economic section, a professional and accounting section, also that the tax regulation, also that the background of the legal, so that we have consist four that you must expect in it. For the transfer pricing case, that's so hard and difficult to success in Supreme Court for the transfer pricing case. So trust us, yeah, you must have economic knowledge, accounting knowledge, and you must know about the business knowledge and also the legal, especially for the tax regulation. Next, please. Okay, so the issues with transfer pricing and tax evasion, this is so scary. If you know about the Google case, if you know about the digital case, technology case, they fail. Why? That's why. That we know that, but the issue, why we can say that the transfer pricing case is a tax evasion. This is tax crime act also. Yes, we can do that. It depends on the data how you use to talk to the fiscal, to the tax authority and the fiscal correction also. So we concerned about that, what they do and why, what the future for the business prediction about the transfer pricing and business and go to the lower tax rate country. So the issues with transfer pricing and tax evasion: one, effectiveness of transfer pricing regulation by country, right? Because that not all of the country that update the regulation for the transfer pricing. Indonesia already update the transfer pricing regulation for year 2023, last year. So this is good for Indonesia. That when you go to Indonesia, the business activity that we are already update, Indonesia already update for the transfer pricing regulation right now. So number one, effectiveness of transfer pricing regulation, and the next, influence of developing country tax revenue, and then the function of tax haven is to facilitate transfer pricing and other types of tax evasion. Yes, we familiar with tax evasion for tax haven country. Maybe that you have a client that they very like and want to do something that, hey, we want to make something efficient cost with tax, and we want to put our profit in the tax haven country. What should we do? So yeah, please talk with the situation with your expert tax specialist or tax attorney. They will know how the plan for this one and which one related with tax evasion. It's so different between tax planning, tax avoidance, and tax evasion. Be careful about this one, the situation, because once you decision from the tax authority, this is a tax evasion, so this is a tax crime act, the penalty is too big. And then the next one, the relationship with other tax avoidance strategies, that profit shifting through intangible assets. This is the most of the property that such as the Middle East also, such as the United States also, that familiar with this one. And then the transfer pricing regulation complexity. Next. The conclusion, okay, this is summary tax landscape of transfer pricing is continually evolving, driven by regulatory change and technologically advancements. Staying informed and practice is essential for managing transfer pricing risks effectively. We encourage all of to you to review your current transfer pricing practice and seek professional advice to navigate this complexity. Our firm, MRS Business Professional Consulting, is always ready to assess you in this journey. We have a success experience with the tax court and the Supreme Court. We know how to success it all detail and based on our background as an accountant, also an economic, also for the legal, and also that we know how to make it minimum risk and penalty sanction and how to avoid by the Tax Crime Act. So thank you for your kind attention. We are now open to any questions to all of our new colleagues as a legal professional. Thank you. I can see the familiar face. Nice to meet you again. And Dr. Moksa, I can see you again. Dr. Bala, thank you. Okay.
Any questions,
Any
anyone?
questions? Or maybe this is the very first time for you that to know about, oh, what's this? I don't know about transfer pricing. Is there anyone that this is the very first time for you to hear about the transfer pricing? Oh, okay, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Akanksha. My question is, I'm an in-house counsel and I'm working for an MNC. So every time when we are doing a transfer pricing agreement, my only question is, I don't know where to put a jurisdiction because both the companies are group companies, and I'm not sure which jurisdiction could be better to have it. And then the only thing is put anything, but then putting anything doesn't sound good to me, but I just put the country which has minimum penalties. But how do you suggest if we, I mean, what should be the jurisdiction clause if the companies are the same companies in the agreement?
The minimum risk for the transfer pricing, the penalty?
Yeah.
It depends on the transaction that related parties. If the multinational company, they have the big activity, business activity that related with the related party. So the compare with the related party transaction and the independent party. So you must make sure there is the arm's length principle method, they compliance with that. So how to minimize the sale price, the purchase price, and which one the method that you can use. So the minimum penalty that you can make sure for the method that you choose first. In Indonesia that we have update regulation that is not only a TNMM method, the transaction, this is from the net margin, the transaction, that we have the new one is also that profit split, and we have the business activity also, and also that the property that intellectual also. So why we must concern about the method? The method is related with how fair and how the compliance from the taxpayer to arm's length principle OECD. Such as that OECD 5 years ago, they can tolerate the laws for 5 years. And it can be acceptable for the business. But nowadays, that they are updated with the regulation. How come the company they have laws in 5 years, they can operate the business? So they change, they update. This is something that is abnormal for the business activity that people want to get profit, right? So how come the company that get lost 5 years and they still operate with the situation? It's a big question. And that's why the OECD that's update their new regulation. And Indonesia also the update regulation. So that's why that USA that the focus for the digital economy and also that how to manage this one, and they make a advanced pricing agreements for digital economy, and they're most successful in that. So the method that you choose is better to raise to make a minimum raise for the penalty. This is so big, and be careful. If you goes to the tax evasion, this is gonna be a tax crime act, all right? So be careful, especially for the digital economy. So be specific and go to the detail, which kind of transaction business activity they goes to the related party. That big, especially if you have a multinational company as your client, yeah, please be careful which one the related party. Sometimes you forgot the detail of the related party transaction. You compare to the independent that you maybe that miss for the method that you use. So that's gonna be that a big argue and hard argue to the tax authority. So make sure that your method is right. Okay. So sometimes why Monica you can win in success in the tax court and the Supreme Court. Yeah, at the very first time that we success in the court, and then the government sue us, and then we still win in the Supreme Court. Why? That's because that the data. That's because of the business transaction. That's because of the method that we choose. That's because that how to prove it and how to make the document that supporting document that related with the fiscal correction. It's not easy. It's a big penalty, but yeah, we need time to prove with all the supporting documents to the tax authority. Yeah, so don't be scary. Just go to the expert and yeah, make a good supporting documents so that you can success with it for the transfer pricing. It's good? Sounds good? Okay, thank you. Is there any question here? Don't scary. This is, yeah, I know this is a scary topic for everyone. I know. This is a happening case. We have the same case with the Google case at that one, the transfer pricing case, but we success. Our client is success with this. But this is for multinational clients, yeah. Multinational company is very scary for them if they got the penalty or the fiscal correction about the transfer pricing. Yeah, we are as the tax attorney that we also that have a risk to become the tax crime act. So be careful about the specific for the text. Yeah. It's a, yeah. So it's so specific for the text. Is there any question? I think it's enough. We can go to the next session. Okay. Okay. So maybe that this is the very first time for you that you want to ask. You can send us email also. And send then the WhatsApp also. Hey, Monica, we need to private consultation and discussion. Yes, please go ahead. Maybe that this is very confidential to you. Let's continue with our next conversation in private. Thank you so much. Is it okay? I will say thank you. Thank you so much and have a successful LexTalk Award 2024 in Singapore. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Monica. It was indeed an insightful session. Let's have a huge round of applause, everyone, for Miss Monica. Thank you, ma'am. I'd also like to thank to all the participants who've joined us virtually. So a big round of applause for all the participants. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we'll proceed to refreshments. So we have a 15-minute quick break for refreshments, and then we'll connect again.
Check, check. 1, 2.
Check, check. 1,
2,
2.
2, 2, 2,
1, 2, 1, 2. What's that?
2, 2, 2.
2, 2.
Cakap lagi.
2, 2. Ada buzzing sound. What?
2, 2. Check 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Check 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Mic check 1, 2, 3. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. H9 mana kau cari? H9. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. 2. Check 1, 2. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. 2, 2, 2. 2, 2. Okay. 2, check 1, 2. 1, 2. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Check 1, 2, 1, 2. Mic check 1, 2, 3. Check 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. Sana, sana. Check 1, 2, 1, 2. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. 2, 2, 2. 2. 2. Check 1, 2, 1, 2. 2, 2, 2, 2.
1, 2, 1, 2.
Check
Mic test, mic
1,
test.
2. Check 1, 2. Mic check 1, 2, 3.
3, 4, 5.
2, 2, 2, 2, 2,
2, 2,
2,
2.
2, 2.
Let's talk, let's
2,
talk,
2,
let's
2,
talk.
2. Check
1,
1,
2, 1,
2,
2.
1, 2. 2, 2, 2, 2. Ini orang.